But yeah, today we're doing a full card prediction for Whittaker versus Gastelum. 13 fights on the entire fight card. Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum in the main event. A lot of fights were switched around. Robert Whittaker was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. He has some sort of illness. 4 other fights did get switched around a little bit just a couple of days ago. So now we have a new main event. In the co-main event, Drakkar Klose and Jeremy Stephens. We have Luis Pena, Alex Munoz, Ricardo Ramos, and Bill Algeo, Jacob Malkoun, and Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Andrei Arlovsky coming and on short notice on Chase Sherman. We have Jared Merchant and Bartosz Babinski. A lot of other really good fights. Alexander Romanov and Juan Espino. So many really good fights that are happening for UFC Fight Night. Whittaker versus Gastelum. But we're going to get started with the first fight on the fight card. We have Austin Hubbard and Dakota Bush. This fight is a lightweight fight. If you guys do not know who Dakota Bush is, he's going to have the reach advantage. Same height right here, 26, almost 27 years old. A really good fighter coming out of the LFA. And he's taking this fight on short notice. Austin Hubbard was supposed to be fighting Natan Levy in a really close fight. But now he's fighting Dakota Bush, who has 8 wins and 2 losses. A first round, a head kick KO win. A first rounder naked, a first rounder naked, a third rounder naked, and a first rounder naked. You might look at this and see 4 first round, and third round rear naked submissions. You gotta think he's a really good grappler, something like that. To be honest, he's not really the best grappler. He's just getting in some pretty good positions in his fights. And allowing him to get those rear naked choke submissions. But in this fight with Austin Hubbard, I really doubt he's gonna get Austin Hubbard's back and get that submission on Austin Hubbard. Is very unlikely, but his striking is really good. He's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage over Austin Hubbard in the fight. Coming off an amazing 1 minute first round knockout win over Austin Clem. Has a couple other knockouts on his record. 2 knockout wins, 2 decision wins, and 4 submission wins. Really powerful puncher, really fast puncher, and when he's in the clinch, he lands a lot of really good elbows and a lot of really good right hands. A very good prospect coming out of the LFA. But the thing is, he's taking this fight on 5 days' notice. This fight just got announced just 2 days ago on Monday. That is not a lot of time to prepare for a guy like Austin Hubbard, who's a really hard guy to prepare for. 12 wins and 5 losses. Coming with a dominant loss to Joe Solecki by first round submission. Joe Solecki, Marco Madsen, Davey Ramos, his only 3 losses inside the UFC. Wrestler, and grappler. Every single one of his losses come in really good grapplers and really good wrestlers. So I don't blame him. Those dudes just took him down over and over again. The one by decision, and one by submission. His other wins over Max Roskov and Kyle Propolic. Won in the striking game, and he dominated Max Roskov in the striking game, dominated Kyle Propolic in the striking game, beat Kilis Mota by 5th round knockout in the main event of LFA 56, and he fought an undefeated Kilis Mota at the time, becoming the LFA lightweight belt, the lightweight champion, I believe. If you look at how he wins his fights, 4 KO TKO wins, 3 submission wins, and 5 decision wins. That's really good striking. The striking in the fight is going to be very even. Dakota Bush might have a little advantage just because of that reach. He is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. He's a very powerful and very fast striker. Has really good head movement. So in the striking game, it's going to be very even. But Austin Hubbard has so much experience with really good wrestlers. And like Joseph, like Marco Madsen, like Davey Ramos, like Max Roskov, all these are really good wrestlers, and that are going for takedown after takedown, and he's done very good against them. He's gotten a lot of experience, and he's a very good wrestler. So in this fight, I actually expect Austin Hubbard to go out there and make his fight more of a wrestling-based fight. I'm going for takedown after takedown, getting ground up, going for some submissions. I honestly think Austin Hubbard is going to go for takedowns on Dakota Bush, and Dakota Bush is going to be the one that is trying to keep the fight on the feet. But it's very interesting because his striking game is very even. Usually you look at a guy like Austin Hubbard, he has really good striking. With a reach advantage, kind of gets me to kind of look towards Dakota Bush, just because he has a 2-inch reach advantage over Austin Hubbard in the fight. So the striking game is going to be very even. With the grappling game, I will have to give the edge to Austin Hubbard. The wrestling game, I will have to give the edge to Austin Hubbard in the fight. Considering this fight is 5 days notice, that is obviously an advantage for Austin Hubbard in the fight. But I am going with Austin Hubbard to win the fight by 29-28. Unanimous decision. The striking game is going to be very even. The grappling game will go towards Austin Hubbard. The wrestling will go to Austin Hubbard. The submission skills will go to Austin Hubbard. The ground and pound will all go to Austin Hubbard. Everything in the ground game will go to Austin Hubbard, and the striking will be very even. And because of that, I will go with Austin Hubbard to win this fight on short notice by 29-28 unanimous decision. If he was supposed to be fighting Natan Levy, I don't really know, man, because Austin Hubbard has kind of developed developed a really good takedown defense. But when he's fighting a guy like Natan Levy, an undefeated fighter in the lightweight division, has a really good wrestling. I don't know how that fight would play out. But considering this fight is 5 days notice for Dakota Bush, I will be going with Austin Ever to win the fight on a 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, we have another short notice fight, Jessica Penne and Lupita Godinez. This fight is in the strawweight division. Jessica Penne, garbage. I mean, she's 38 years old, 5'5" inches tall, 67 inch reach. Yes, she might have the reach advantage, she might have the height advantage. She does not have the age advantage whatsoever in the fight. I'm a humongous underdog at 3-1 odds for Lupita Godinez in the fight. She's on a 3-fight losing streak, and get this, guys, she has 1 win inside of the UFC against a random Marcos by split decision. Everything else, lost to Carla Esparza, lost to Joanna Jacek, Jessica Andrade, and Danielle Taylor. 1 win inside of the UFC by split decision. Before that, fought inside of Invicta FC, and got some decent wins over there. Fought Michelle Waterston. But overall, her main way of winning the fight is to get the fight to the ground as soon as possible. Play more of a grappling-based, wrestling-based game plan, and get the fight to the ground as soon as possible, and go for submission after submission after submission over and over again. You already know, 8 submission wins on her record, 4 decision wins, and 2 knockout wins. That's your main way of winning the fight, by submission in the first or second round. But when you got a girl like Lupita Godinez, who is really good takedown defense and amazing striking, decision win, first round submission win, and a decision win. In her last fight with Vanessa Demopoulos in a main event inside of the LFA. Vanessa Demopoulos is a really good grappler. She kept the fight on the feet, kept it more of a striking, kickboxing type of fight, and won that fight by majority decision in a 5-round main event. But if she can do good against Vanessa Demopoulos, defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and win in the striking game against Vanessa Demopoulos, I 100% think she's going to do the exact same thing against Jessica Penne in the fight. She's going to keep the fight on the feet, defend the takedowns, and ultimately, in my opinion, dominate the fight on the feet and win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. I think it's going to be a dominant performance from Lupita Godinez, who right now is an undefeated fighter in the strawweight division, 5 wins and 0 losses. I think she's going to become 6-0 after this fight in her first fight inside of the UFC. Should be a really good fight right there between Lupita Godinez and Jessica Penne. But after that, with a bantamweight fight, striker with Zara Farron and Josiane Nunes. Both fighters have most of their wins coming by KO TKO. Zara Farron 6 wins and 4 losses, 4 knockout wins, and 2 decision wins. Out of her 4 losses, 2 decision losses, 1 knockout loss, and 1 submission loss. She's a much older fighter at 34.5 years old, 5'8" inches tall, 73 inch reach. Josiane Nunes, 7 wins, 1 loss, 27 years old, a much smaller fighter. Get this, guys, 5'2" inches tall. Her reach around 67 inches, so humongous advantages there for Zara Farron in the striking game. According to the height and reach advantages for Zara Farron, having a 6-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage over Josiane Nunes in the fight. But the thing is, even though she's gonna have that height advantage, even though she's gonna have that reach advantage, we saw in her last fight with a girl like Alicia Spencer, she went for takedown after takedown over and over and got her down and ground and pounded the heck out of her and finished her, I believe, in the very first round by domination. Josiane Nunes is a very good wrestler with a really good ground and pound and very good power. 7 wins and 1 loss. You look right here, every single one of her wins except for one of those wins coming by KO TKO, 6 KO TKO wins and 1 decision win. Her only loss as a professional MMA fighter to Tyler Santos. If you guys do not know who she is right now, she's the 21st best flyweight fighter in the world. She's an absolute beast. That is her only professional loss, which is absolutely insane. Amazing power, really good striking, really good wrestling, and a really good ground and pound. Zara Farron, her only way of winning the fight, in my opinion, to keep the fight on the feet, make it a technical striking fight, kind of keep range and win the fight by decision in the striking game. But when you're facing a girl like Josiane Nunes, who's gonna go out there, pressure you, just like Khabib does, he's just gonna keep on pressuring you over and over again, and eventually you're gonna get your back to the cage, and Josiane Nunes is gonna shoot in for a double leg, get you down, and dominate you on the ground with ground and pound. Not really go for any submissions, just dominate you on the ground with a buttload of ground and pound. I think Josiane Nunes is gonna get the fight to the ground as soon as possible and dominate Zara Farron, just like in her last fight with Alicia Spencer. I think Josiane Nunes is gonna go out there, go for a takedown after takedown, get her down, and land a lot of ground and pound shots and win the fight, possibly by TKO in the second round. But I think it's 50-50 on if we see a finish by KO TKO from Jose Nunes, or if the fight goes all the way and it's a dominant ground and pound out of the wrestling win from Jose Nunes in the fight. But overall, I will go with Jose Nunes to win the fight by 30-27, possibly a 30-26 unanimous decision. And again, this fight could be a TKO, could be a knockout, but I do have her winning the fight by unanimous decision. After that, we have another short notice fight. Tony Gravely was supposed to fight Nate Maness, is now fighting Anthony Bert Shirt on 1 week's notice. Tony Gravely, 20 wins and 6 losses. This is crazy right here. Every single one of those 6 losses as a professional MMA fighter. Look right here. You got Brett Johns, who's inside of Bellator right now. He's been inside the UFC. His other loss, Apache Mix, a former Bellator bantamweight champion. You have Manny Bermudez, who was once inside of the UFC. Merab Dvalishvili, who was inside of the UFC right now, a top 15 bantamweight fighter in the world. You have Ricky Bandejas, who is inside of Bellator, who is inside of the UFC. You have Pat Sabatini, who is inside of the UFC. Every single one of this man's losses has come to legit UFC Bellator caliber competition. I mean, he's fighting the best of the best. 8 knockout wins, 9 decision wins, and 3 decision wins. Really, really good striking. He's a 3-1 favorite over Anthony Bert Shirt here. 5'5" tall, 69-inch reach. So Anthony Bert Shirt may have that reach advantage, may have the height advantage, but he does not gonna have the age advantage over Tony Gravely in the fight, as he is 34, almost 35 years old in 1 month. Tony Gravely in the prime of his career at 29 and a half years old, 15 wins and 7 losses. A lot of submission wins and a lot of finishes on his record. 7 submission wins and 5 KO TKO wins. Honestly, the striking game could be pretty even. Tony Gravely will have the wrestling advantage, maybe not the submission advantage, but he will have the striking advantage and the wrestling advantage over Anthony Bert Shirt in the fight. The submission skills probably will go to Anthony Bert Shirt. Most likely, if he were to win the fight, it would be by submission. But Tony Gravely, with his wrestling, with his ground and pound, with his striking, I think overall will keep the fight on the feet and end up every now and then going for a takedown, just kind of leave an impression on the judges' scorecards. And ultimately, I think the fight is gonna go all the way, and Tony Gravely is going to win the fight by 30-27, a unanimous decision. I am super excited for this fight. We have Alexander Romanov and Juan Espino. I mean, if you guys do not know anything about Alexander Romanov and Juan Espino, all you really need to know is Alexander Romanov is a finisher and Juan Espino an amazing grappler with 8 submission wins and 1 knockout win on his record. Only 1 fight going all the way. Alexander Romanov, 0 fights going all the way, 13 wins and 0 losses, 9 submission wins and 4 KO TKO wins. You look right here, first round submission, third round submission, first round submission, first knockout, first and a forearm choke submission. I mean, he's an absolute beast. So many finishes on his record. A really big fighter in the heavyweight division. Juan Espino, I believe 8 or 9 submission wins on his record, 10 wins and 1 loss. So 8 submissions, 1 knockout win, and 3 decision wins. He had a couple of fights on the Ultimate Fighter 28. Got 2 wins in a row over Maurice Rena and Ben Sassoli, then beat Justin Frazier by first round arm long submission, and then beat Jeff Hughes by first round submission. I mean, it's grappler versus a grappler slash ground and pound, and real. I mean, come on, dude, come on, man. This is an amazing fight right here. It's a really underrated fight on the prelims of UFC Fight Night. Whittaker versus Gastelum. It's a really interesting fight. The betting odds are really close. -140 and +120. The one thing is, Juan Espino is 40 and a half years old. He's a little bit taller. He's 6'3" inches tall, and has, 80-inch reach for Juan Espino is absolutely insane. He is gonna have the height advantage. He is gonna have the reach advantage. Alexander Romanov is gonna have the age advantage in the fight. Alexander Romanov is gonna have the striking advantage and is gonna have the ground and pound advantage. With the man who's gonna have the grappling and the submission advantage will be Juan Espino. The grappling game will be really close. But Alexander Romanov, his striking, his ground and pound is gonna be way too much. I think either Juan Espino goes out there and gets a submission in the first or second round, or Alexander Romanov goes out there and gets a TKO in the first or second round. One of those two things is gonna happen in this heavyweight fight on the prelims. It's a really close fight, but I am going with Alexander Romanov. The King Kong of the heavyweight division. His nickname is right there. The man is an absolute beast, but I am going Alexander Romanov to win the fight on my first knockout or first round TKO. But it's such a really good fight on the prelims of UFC Fight Night. Gastelum versus Whittaker, a really good fight right there. But I am going with Alexander Romanov to win the fight by first or second round TKO. Should be a really good heavyweight fight there. After that, we have Tracy Cortez and Justin Kish. all you really have to say for the fight, just in case wants to keep the fight on the feet. I mean, she's beaten Nina Askarov, she's beaten Lucy Bodilova, Ashley Yoder, Reina Marcos in really striking performances in all those fights. Coming off a submission loss to Sabina Mazo, a third round submission, 5 decision wins and 2 submission wins. She has very striking and some pretty good submission skills. But in this fight with Tracy Cortez, who is the younger fighter, the taller fighter, the more lengthy fighter, has 67-inch reach. She's gonna go out there, go for a takedown after takedown, just in case, in my opinion, is going to be looking for a submission, or is going to be looking to keep the fight on the feet and make it a very close, striking fight in the fight. Trace Cortez, her wrestling is just so good. You watch the last 2 fights, inside the UFC against Stephanie Egger and Vanessa Mello and Maria Agapova and Erin Blackfield, 4 wins in a row, all by unanimous and split decision. Really dominant wins in there. Mainly wrestling and striking performances in the clinch, in the wrestling game, going for takedown after takedown. She's an absolute beast. Of the wrestler in the women's flyweight division. Just in case, I find it very hard for her to defend the takedowns from Tracy Cortez. I mean, her wrestling and her grappling is going to be way too much. I mean, all I really have to say is Tracy Cortez is going to go for takedown after takedown, get her down, and go for ground and pound over and over. And I think Tracy Cortez is going to win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. Could be a really good flyweight fight. I'm very curious to see if Justin Kish does keep the fight on the feet. How close of a fight will it be in the striking game? But overall, Tracy Cortez will get her down eventually in the fight and ultimately win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. Should be a really good flyweight fight in the women's divisions between Trace Cortez and Justin Kish in the fight. Then we have a grappler and a striker, Bartosz Fabinski and Gerald Meerschaert in the main prelim for UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Gastelum. Gerald Meerschaert, 31 wins, 14 losses, and I believe it was 0 draws. 31 wins and 14 losses. Look right here, 23 submission wins on his record, 6 KO TKO wins on his record. 0 of his fights inside of the UFC have gone all the way. Only 2 fights in his professional MMA career have gone all the way. 8 submission losses and 3 KO TKO losses. In his last 2 fights, getting knocked out twice. To Hamza Chimaev by first round knockout and Ian Hines by first round knockout. I mean, absolutely insane. The man has really good grappling, but in his last 2 fights, it has kind of shown to not really have the best chin. But Bartosz Fabinski has really good power. 15 wins and 4 losses. 8 KO TKO wins and 7 decision wins. If you look at how he's losing those fights, you look right here, 3 submission losses and 1 decision losses. So Bartosz Fabinski is going to be looking to keep the fight on the feet because he's coming off of 2 losses in his last 3 fights to, I believe, Andre Muniz, and then in his last fight to Michael Parazeres, lost by first round guillotine and first round armbar submission. When you're facing a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, he's going to go out there, he's going to go for takedowns, try to get you down, and go for submission after submission, try to submit you in the first or second round. It's going to be very hard for a guy like Bartosz Fabinski, who doesn't really have the best submission defense, being submitted already 3 times in his professional MMA career, and inside the UFC has yet to get a KO TKO win. His only knockout wins were early in his career back in 2014, so I really doubt he's going to get a KO TKO. I think either way, it's either Bartosz Fabinski to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision, or Gerald Meerschaert to win the fight by first round submission, or win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. In the grappling and in the wrestling game in the fight. I think it's going to be very hard for Bartosz Fabinski to keep the fight on the feet. Gerald Meerschaert, really good takedown, really good wrestling, really good grappling, very good submission skills, 25 plus wins coming by submission. This is actually my first underdog that I have on the fight card. I have Gerald Meerschaert winning the fight by 29-28. Unanimous decision. He is a younger fighter, has a bigger reach, has a bigger height. I think he's going to go out there, go for takedown after takedown, keep the fight even in the striking game, and overall win the fight by 29-28, unanimous decision. After that, guys, we have another short notice fight. Andre Arlovski and Chase Sherman. You guys already know Chase Sherman is going out there and he is trying to put the lights out with a knockout. 14 wins coming by KO TKO right here, and then 1 win by decision. You already know what he's gonna do. He's going out there and he's trying to knock you out. He's lost by knockout. He lost 1 fight by decision. Lost 1 fight by second round knockout. Lost by first round knockout, third round knockout, decision loss. Most of his losses coming by KO TKO. 4 KO TKO losses and 2 decision losses. So usually it's either him getting knocked out or him knocking out his opponent. That is pretty much that simple. This doesn't really have much of a grappling game, but neither does Andre Arlovski. This fight is staying on the feet. Both fighters have very, very good striking, very, very good power. Andre Arlovski, 17 knockout wins and 10 decision wins. If Andre wins the fight, I will say he will win the fight by 30-27 or 29-28 unanimous decision. And if Chase Sherman were to win the fight, it would be by unanimous decision. But guys, let's take a look at these stats from Andre Arlovski's fights with Tanner Boser and Felipe Lins. Look at the fights with Tanner Boser. He made it a really, really technical striking fight and defended all the big whipping shots from Tanner Boser. Ultimately won the fight by 29-28. Unanimous decision. You might look right here, 68 strikes to 34 strikes. You might be like, how did Andre Arlovski even win the fight? Well, literally 67% of Tanner Boser's strikes were to the leg of Andre Arlovski. Most of his strikes were to the body and to the head of Tanner Boser in that fight. That is the main way he was winning that fight. It's a real technical striking fight between Andre Arlovski and Tanner Boser. I think the exact same thing is gonna happen here between Chase Sherman and Andre Arlovski. Andre is gonna make it a really, really technical striking fight. Has so much experience being a former UFC heavyweight champion, 30 wins and 20 losses. He's had literally 50 professional MMA fights on his record. So much experience, really good power in his hands, and a really, really technical striker in the heavyweight division. He's still ranked as the 17th best heavyweight fighter in the world. And then you got Chase Sherman. He's going out there. He's trying to knock you out. So it's either Andre Arlovski to make it a technical fight and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision, or Chase Sherman to go out there and let a big shot and knock out Andre Arlovski in the fight. One of those two things is going to happen in the fight. But considering that fight with Tanner Boser, who's a really, really good striker and also has a lot of power like Chase Sherman, Andre Arlovski made it look easy in the fight, making a technical striking fight and winning the fight by decision. So I think the exact same thing is going to happen here with Andre Arlovski and Chase Sherman. He's going to make a very technical striking performance and defend all those whooping shots from Chase Sherman and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, guys, KO, TKO. That's all I have to say. With Abdul Razak Al-Hassan coming off of a decision loss and a knockout loss to Chaos Williams 4.5 months ago. He's 35.5 years old, 5'10" tall, 73-inch reach. And then Jacob Malkoun, 4 wins and 1 loss, 25.5 years old. Both fighters have really, really good power. Jacob Malkoun, 2 knockout wins and 2 decision wins, coming off a devastating knockout loss in his last fight with Phil Hawes in 18 seconds into the first round. Absolutely insane. And then Abdul Razak Al-Hassan, 10 wins and 3 losses. You look right here. Come on, man. 10 KO TKO wins, 0 wins by submission, and 0 wins by decision. The man's got power. That is all you gotta know about Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. He's going out there and he is trying to finish you in the first or second round. Jacob Malkoun is also trying to do pretty much the same exact thing. I think this fight is gonna stay on the feet, and it's a pretty simple prediction for me. Jacob Malkoun is showing he does not have the best chin. Getting knocked out by a guy like Phil Hawes, whose power does not match a guy like Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. Abdul is going to go out there and land a big right hand, in my opinion. And considering Jacob just got knocked out in literally 17 seconds, 19 seconds, or whatever the case may be, by Phil Hawes, I think the exact same thing is going to happen in the fight. And I think Abdul Razak Al-Hassan is going to go out there and land a big right hand and knock Jacob Malkoun out in the first or second round in the fight. After that, oh my god, we have Ricardo Ramos and Bill Algeo. This is a close one. Bill Algeo, 14 wins and 5 losses. Ricardo Ramos, 14 wins and 3 losses. The betting odds so close, -110 and -120. 25.5 years old, and then 31.5 years old. The height and reach advantage going for Bill Algeo in the fight at 6 foot tall and 73.5-inch reach. So a 3-inch height advantage and a 1.5-inch reach advantage for Bill Algeo in the striking game in the fight. Ricardo Ramos, 14 wins and 3 losses. You look right here, 7 submission wins and 3 KO TKO wins and 4 decision wins inside of the UFC. Joining the UFC in 2017, decision win, a 3rd round knockout win over Ayman Zahabi, a decision win over Kyung Ko Hong, a loss to Said Nurmagomedov, an absolute beast of a fighter in the bantamweight division by 1st round knockout. I'll be joining news by unanimous decision. Then be Eduardo Garagori on a 1st round submission, and as you guys know, lost to an also Lerone Murphy, who was an absolutely amazing striker who was really good wrestling by 1st round TKO. But yeah, Ricardo Ramos has very good submission skills, has some pretty good striking as well. Bill Algeo has pretty good striking as well. His last 2 fights with Ricardo Lamas and Spike Carlil, really close fights. With Spike Carlil, he's kind of fighting a guy that really gasses out in the 2nd and 3rd round. That is the main way he won the fight. Who knows what would have happened if Spike Carlil did not gas out in the fight. With Ricardo Lamas, really close fight. Let's take a look at these stats of the Ricardo Lamas fight. I mean, it was a very close fight. If we can find these stats of the fight, because it was a super close fight between a guy that was once in the top 10 of the featherweight division, 89 significant strikes to 104 significant strikes. He made weight, he lost the fight. It was because of the takedowns. Ricardo Lamas landed 5 out of 11 takedowns in the fight, and that is definitely going to be a factor in the fight. Bill Algeo has some pretty decent takedown defense. Ricardo Ramos has some pretty good wrestling, pretty good submission skills in the striking game. I think it's going to be very even in the striking game, but in the grappling and the wrestling game, I might actually give the advantage to Ricardo Ramos, even though Bill Algeo has some pretty good submission, ground and pound skills in the grappling and wrestling skills. He has 6 submission wins on his record as well, but in the grappling game, I will give the slight advantage to a guy like Ricardo Ramos. In the striking game, it's gonna be so even. There might be a slight edge to Bill Algeo because he's gonna have that height advantage, he's gonna have that reach advantage, but overall, Ricardo Ramos, in my opinion, is gonna do the exact same thing that Ricardo Lamas did in their fight 6.5 months ago, and get a lot of takedowns and get the fight down, land a lot of ground and pound shots and go for submission in the fight. But overall, I think it's gonna be a super close fight. Honestly, a split decision. It's gonna be a 29-28 win for one of these two guys in the fight. A super close fight in the featherweight division. But overall, I will be going with Ricardo Ramos to win the fight because the striking game is super even. In the grappling game, I do have him having the advantage in the grappling and wrestling game. So I have Ricardo Ramos winning the fight by 29-28 decision. It should be a really close fight in this featherweight fight between Bill Algeo and Ricardo Ramos. Super close fight right there. And then after that, I'm gonna say right now, I have Luis Pena winning the fight. You have Alex Munoz, not really the best takedown accuracy. You look at his last couple of fights. He has Nasser Hakparas. He got absolutely dominated in that fight. I mean, there was like 103 significant strikes for Nasser Hakparas to Alexander Munoz, having only like 37 strikes in the fight. I mean, absolutely insane. He only landed 1 takedown in the fight, having a takedown accuracy of 12%, only keeping the fight on the ground for 54 seconds. I mean, it was an absolute domination. Could have been a 30-26. It was just such a absolute domination. You already know what he's gonna do if he goes out there. He's gonna go for takedown after takedown after takedown. That is what he's gonna do. He's a very good wrestler, but he did not show his wrestling skills in his last fight with Nasser Hakparas. And when you're facing a guy like Luis Pena, who has some pretty good takedown accuracy and pretty good takedown defense in the fight, I think he will keep the fight on the feet and he will have that striking advantage. Considering he's 6 foot 3 inches tall, 6 inches taller than Alex Munoz, and has a 75-inch reach. In the striking game, he will have the advantage. In the wrestling game, obviously Alex Munoz will have the advantage. Maybe get 1 or 2 takedowns in the fight, but overall, I think Luis Pena will keep the fight on the feet and overall win the fight on the feet, using the height and using that reach to win the fight in the striking game and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. But who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Alex Munoz, if he does really good in the wrestling game, obviously he's gonna win the fight. But there's no way of telling. Considering his last performance with Nasser Hakparas, he had horrible wrestling in the fight. So I think Luis Pena will defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. And then we go to the co-main event, another really neck and neck striking fight. Jeremy Stephens and Drakkar Klose in the lightweight division, 11 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. The 22nd best lightweight fighter in the world, Jeremy Stephens, 28 wins, 18 losses, and 0 draws. 34, almost 35 years old, so they're similar age. No real age advantage for either fighter in the fight. There is a little bit of a reach advantage just by 1 inch for Jeremy Stephens at 71 inches. They same height. I have 5'9" inches tall for both fighters in the fight. Jeremy Stephens is a favorite in the fight at -150. The betting odds for right now are super close at -115 and then +105 and -100. It's just a really close fight in the striking game. The tabloid predictions are super close. 43% going for Stephens and then 57% going close to win the fight. A really close fight in the striking game right here. Drakkar Klose, 11 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. In his last fight with Beneil Dariush, he lost the fight by a second round knockout. And guess what, in the fight, Beneil Dariush, I believe top 8 or top 7 lightweight fighter in the world, he actually almost knocked out Beneil Dariush, but Beneil, you guys already know, he came back and knocked him out in the second round, and before that, beating Chris Jagos, Bobby Green, and Lando Venata, all by unanimous decision, losing to David Timur by unanimous decision, beating Mark Diakese, beating Devin Powell. Before that was an undefeated fighter with 4 knockout wins and 7 decision wins. So I think overall, if Drakkar Klose were to win the fight, it would probably be by unanimous decision. If Jeremy Stephens Stevens were to win the fight, it'd be by first round TKO or to win the fight by unanimous decision. Because man, the man has like 17 knockouts on his record, 18 KO TKO wins, 3 submission wins, and 7 decision wins on his record. So I think he's either gonna get a first round knockout win or win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. When we have a fight that is this close between Drakkar Klose and Jeremy Stephens, you gotta look at the stats. The stats in the fight are very, very close between Drakkar Klose and Jeremy Stephens. You look right here, the same height, pretty much the same exact reach. They're both orthodox fighters, pretty much the same exact age, but the significant striking advantage, in my opinion, even though Drakkar Klose has a little bit more strikes landing every single minute, Jeremy Stephens has really, really good striking defense and has much better striking considering he's fighting against a Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, Calvin Kattar, all these amazing fighters in the top 5, top 10 of the featherweight division. So that is why there's just a little bit better striking in the statistics from Drakkar Klose in the fight. With the striking accuracy probably going to Drakkar Klose at 53%, which is a very, very good striking accuracy to have for Drakkar Klose in the fight. In the wrestling game, very, very even. They both get like 1, maybe 2 takedowns in every single one of their fights. But this right here, I don't really need to look at it because this fight is staying on the field. One of these two guys is going to get knocked out in the first round, or one of these two guys is going to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. You guys already know Jeremy Stephens has had a pretty rough last couple of fights that beat Magomed Sharipov, Jose Aldo, Yair Rodriguez, and Calvin Kattar. 4 losses in a row inside the UFC in the featherweight division. But you guys always forget, before that, he got 3 wins in a row, second round knockout, and unanimous decision over Doo Ho Choi, Gilbert Melendez, and Josh Emmett. I mean, he's still a game fighter in the featherweight division, really good power, really, really good striker. Drakkar Klose also has some pretty good power and has some really, really good striking accuracy in the fight. This is going to be a super, super close fight. I almost do not know who to lean towards, but I am going to be going with the super slight favorite, who has very, very, very small striking advantage in the fight. It's a very, very close fight, but I am going with Jeremy Stephens to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. Man, when I first saw the fight, I had Jeremy Stephens winning the fight, but it's just such a close fight for sure. But I do have Jeremy Stephens winning the fight by 29-28, a unanimous decision. And guess what, guys? We made it to the main event of UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Gastelum. This is a short notice fight. You guys already know Robert Whittaker was supposed to fight Paulo Costa, and then Kelvin Gastelum on short notice, I believe like 2 weeks notice, coming in to fight the #1 middleweight contender in Robert Whittaker, 22 wins and 5 losses. Kelvin Gastelum, 17 wins and 6 losses. Similar ages, both fighters in the prime of their MMA careers at 29 and a half years old and 30 years old. A little bit of a height advantage and a reach advantage for Robert Whittaker in the fight. He's 6 foot tall and a 73.5 inch reach. So a 2 inch reach advantage and a, I believe, 3 inch height advantage for Robert Whittaker in the fight. In the striking game, I mean, never count out a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, even though he had a really, really close fight with the guys like Israel Adesanya, with guys like Darren Till, fought Chris Weidman, fought Neil Magny, really, really close fights in all those fights. Has really, really good striking. In the last couple of years, he's kind of been enforcing more of a wrestling-based game plan, more of a wrestling, grappling-based game plan. We saw in the last fight with Ian Heinisch. I mean, he had like 8 takedowns in the fight, I believe. I went for takedown after takedown after takedown over and over and over again. Got 6 takedowns in the fight. Went for 14 takedowns total. Had 6 minutes, 50 seconds of total control time in the fight. That was his game plan in the last fight with Ian Heinisch. It's going to be really, really hard to do the same exact thing with a guy like Robert Whittaker. When you look right here, he has an 84% takedown defense. I mean, come on, man. That takedown defense is really, really good. He's going to keep the fight on the feet. I think Kelvin Gastelum could get the fight to the ground once, maybe twice in the fight. But overall, will keep the fight on the feet because Robert Whittaker's takedown defense is just so good. So I think this fight is going to stay on the feet. And Robert Whittaker, having 22 wins, 5 losses, fighting Israel Adesanya, coming off of 2 decision wins over Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, beating Yoel Romero twice, Ronaldo Souza, Derek Brunson, Rafael Natal, Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares, all these amazing fighters inside the UFC. I mean, Robert Whittaker's an absolute beast. He's such an underrated fighter in the middleweight division. Everyone's talking about Israel Adesanya, about all these other middleweight fighters, but Robert Whittaker is an absolute beast in the striking game, and with a takedown defense of 84%, it's a perfect match to fight a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, defend the takedowns and keep the fight on the feet, making it a very, very close striking fight. I think overall, Kelvin Gastelum will win one, possibly two of the rounds, but overall, I have Robert Whittaker winning the fight by 49-46, unanimous decision in a short notice main event for UFC Fight Night Whittaker versus Gastelum. So guys, if you guys forgot my predictions, I have Robert Whittaker winning his fight, I have Jeremy Stephens winning his fight, I have Luis Pena winning his fight, I have Ricardo Ramos winning his fight, I have Abdul Razak Hassan winning his fight, I have Andrei Arlovsky winning his fight, I have the underdog in Jared Mercer winning his fight, I have Trace Cortez winning her fight. I have Alexander Romanov winning his fight. I have Tony Gravely winning his fight. I have Josie Nunes winning her fight. I have Lupita Gonides winning her fight on short notice. And then I have Austin Hubbard winning his fight. If you guys have any questions for any of these 13 amazing fights for UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Gastelum, put that in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like the videos. Check out some of my other videos. We post videos for UFC, Bellator, LFA, all these amazing organizations. So if you guys wanna see those predictions, like the video, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here. Let's go.